Hey everyone, welcome to the True Blue Podcast. I am your host, Zachary Sucardi. You could find me on Instagram at True Blue Podcast. July 1st, here we are. We made it. Thank goodness. Well, technically tomorrow is July 1st, and I don't change my calendar until it actually happens. I guess that may be a superstitious thing, but you gotta respect each day. You can't rush ahead. It's interesting. I listened to the last episode on 2x speed. And boy, I sounded like a motivational speaker. I'm trying to kind of get that same energy on this episode without being at 2x the speed. But yeah, it's funny. I also had a conversation with a friend that I was testing this app to record conversations because I used to record conversations with my mom just to preserve her. And she's still alive, but just to preserve her. And I listened to the conversation I had with my friend on 2x the speed, and he was giving me this advice, and I was like, man, it was like motivating me. I was like, wow, there's something about that 2x the speed. I guess it's like little time between words and stuff that you just feel like, all right, I want more. It's like you're sort of ready. There's this energy that it brings. So, but yeah, I'm very grateful. I'm happy that it's going to be July. The summer, it's all right. I'm not the biggest fan of the hot weather, but it's all good. It has its place, but for me, that's kind of when summer starts, is 4th of July. I have a lot of good memories with fireworks and stuff, growing up, and even as I got older. The last 4th of July with my grandmother, we watched the fireworks on TV that they were shooting off in the city. I was actually going to go into the city for 4th of July, but it was pouring rain. I was like, fuck it. So I stayed home, and my grandmother and I watched it on TV, which was pretty awesome. And it definitely has given me a very special memory, the 4th of July. Typically, watching things like that on TV is kind of whack, but with my grandmother and just her response to it and just being there, it's just amazing. I've shared this quote before, but it's by Walt Whitman, and he says, "We were together, I forget the rest," which is kind of self-explanatory, but just really meaning that, it's about being with your people, Almost doesn't matter what you're doing. It could be as mundane as just going for a walk. It could be as exciting as, going to a concert or traveling or hot air balloon or whatever. But yeah, we were together, I forget the rest. But that's it, just a little quick update from me. Let's get on to the self-care tip of the week. All right, so last episode we talked about what self-care is. This episode I want to talk about what self-care isn't. Sometimes we mistake comfort for self-care. Sometimes we mistake productivity for self-care. Other times we use the idea of self-care to justify avoiding things we'd rather not deal with. None of those things are always right or always wrong, but it's worth asking why we're making those choices. Sort of looking into the motivation behind things. So when it comes to what self-care is, and I'm going to pose a couple questions, give you some examples, just to kind of sit with so you can better discern, are you taking care of yourself or are you trying to avoid something? So when it comes to comfort, you want to ask yourself, am I doing this because I need comfort or because I'm avoiding discomfort? Is this helping me recharge or just helping me escape for a while? Like taking a nap. Do you really need it, or are you just trying to sort of escape something? Will I feel restored afterward or just temporarily relieved? And when it comes to self-care and comfort, am I choosing what's easy or what's actually good for me? Some examples are like I said, taking a nap because you're exhausted versus sleeping all day to avoid responsibilities or getting out of bed. Another example is watching an episode to unwind versus binge watching to avoid thinking about a problem or something that you would rather put off. Another example is eating your favorite meal because you enjoy it versus just numbing out because you're lonely or you're stressed. So just some things to consider when it comes to comfort and self-care. With productivity, you want to ask yourself, am I taking care of myself or just trying to feel productive? Like, is this something that I really need to do, or am I just sort of like in this, like, I have to be busy, otherwise I'm going to have to address the thing I'm thinking about and trying to avoid by being busy? Next is being busy making me healthier or just distracting me? Very, very similar. And then for productivity, we have, am I resting because I need it, or do I feel guilty whenever I'm not accomplishing something? So it's almost like the person who goes to the gym all the time and they can never take a break. Yeah, the gym is positive, but you can quickly make it into something negative if you're sort of abusing it, if you will. Some examples for productivity with self-care: cleaning the house because it gives you peace versus cleaning because you can't sit still with your thoughts. Working late because it's necessary, you want to make some money, versus working to avoid dealing with your emotions or something at home. And then here we are with exercising. Exercising because you enjoy it, feels good, versus exercising because you feel guilty if you don't. That's a whole nother thing. When it comes to avoidance and self-care, you want to ask yourself, am I protecting my peace or avoiding a difficult conversation? I've done that. Where I've sort of just avoided a conversation, tried to like time things right, so I don't run into this person. Next thing you want to ask yourself, am I taking a break or putting something off? Are you avoiding something or you really need this break? Procrastination. Next is, am I saying no because I need a boundary or because I'm afraid? I've been there. You sort of want to keep some distance, but you don't know how to address it. And lastly, for avoidance and self-care is, am I spending time alone because I need some me time or because I'm isolating? That's again a great question to ask yourself. Some examples of this are canceling plans because you're exhausted versus canceling because of anxiety. Something you want to, you sort of would rather not do. Taking a mental health day because you're burned out versus avoiding a responsibility you just don't want to face. Another example is turning off your phone for an evening versus disappearing from people who care about you. It's like, how dare you care about me? And again, the question you want to ask is this helping me care for myself or helping me avoid something? When I'm done with this, will I feel restored or just distracted? So again, the same thing could be self-care based on context, based on the motivation. So like with the gym, clearly you could be taking care of yourself with enjoying a nice meal, with spending some time alone, with taking a nap. All could be positive things. But again, if the motivation behind it is to avoid something, is to seek comfort, is to, just try to be busy, then you want to just sort of check yourself and give yourself some grace. None of this stuff is perfect. Progress, not perfection. But just some things I did want to highlight when it comes to what isn't self-care. So that way you kind of have a better idea of your motivation behind things. So let's get on to the True Blue playlist. All right, so similar to last week's session, which was session 107, I chose the song 107 by Less Than Jake. This week, session 108, I'm actually choosing the band 108. The song is called God Talk. It's on their album 1861, which came out in 2010. So the song starts off with like this really driving, heavy guitar that immediately pulls you in. Then it kind of shifts gears a little bit and becomes really fast and chaotic at the end, which makes it like really heavy because the way some of the lyrics go, it's just like a nice punch. It's the first song on their album. It's like maybe 2 minutes, which is perfect for a hardcore punk song. The message in the song, it kind of questions people who sort of are more showy on their faith. They're trying to sort of be public about it and display it in a sort of an insincere way, but they just want to be seen versus having a deep personal connection. The lyrics in the song highlight that. It talks about she broadcasts her God on the back of her car. And then it says, is it a football religion, a bumper sticker crusade? Sort of challenging the idea of, is faith just a slogan or a label? Or is it something that is deeply personal? The ending of the song, the way it speeds up is very like chaotic. And the last line that he repeats over and over, he says, get the fuck away from me. I just want to be in love. Get the fuck away from me. I just want to be in love. And I love that because it's so much energy, so much aggression, and really calling out like, I want something sincere. I don't want this bullshit surface. I don't want this fucking false love. I want something sincere. I want a stronger connection, be it with a higher power, be it with someone in a romantic relationship, whatever it may be. Get the fuck away from me. I just want to be in love. I fucking love that. That is awesome. So happy to share it. It's on the True Blue playlist, which you can find on Spotify. Thanks for checking this episode out. Hope everyone has a happy 4th of July. God bless you, and I will see you next time. Peace.